Have you ever felt like your money is controlling you instead of, the other way around? Or maybe you dream of something big, buying a house, starting a business, traveling, but the whole financial roadmap just feels overwhelmingly complex. Well, today we're doing a deep dive into this really powerful resource called Financial Empowerment, a comprehensive guide to taking control of your finances. Our mission really is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge from this guide, give you a shortcut to feeling genuinely in control of your financial future. Think of this as your personalized briefing. Quick, thorough, no information overload.
Yeah, and what's fascinating, I think, is just how universal these challenges are. So many people feel adrift with money, but the peace of mind you can gain from understanding just a few core principles, it's immense. This guide, it really lays out not just the what, but crucially the why. Why take control? It connects it right back to living the life you actually want, not just getting by.
Okay, let's unpack that. So the guide kicks off by asking us, what happens if we don't have basic money skills? And it paints a pretty familiar picture, unfortunately. Things like living paycheck to paycheck, even with a decent income, or racking up debt that feels just impossible to shake off, that feeling of helplessness, stress every time a bill lands. It says, without grasping the basics, it's just alarmingly easy to get blindsided by unexpected costs that derail everything. And you end up paying too much in fees and interest because maybe you don't know the alternatives. And maybe worst of all, making money decisions based on emotion, panic maybe, instead of informed choices, like trying to navigate a maze blindfolded.
Right. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it's really about gaining agency, control over your own life. This material really emphasizes that financial literacy, it's not just about balancing a checkbook, is it? It's about freedom. The guide actually uses the phrase, design your ideal lifestyle. The idea is your money literally starts moving toward directions enriching your life rather than creating stress and limitation. That's powerful, and it poses that question. What if money stopped being this source of anxiety and just became a tool, a lever, really, to build the life you imagine? Because strong fundamentals, they do substantially reduce that common money stress. They let you aim for those big goals, buying a home, saving for college without, crippling loans later on, retiring comfortably when you want to. And it brings peace of mind too, right, for the future. Things like starting retirement savings early, having the right insurance, knowing you're prepared.
Okay, and here's where it got really interesting for me. Beyond just the practical stuff, the dollars and cents, the guide talks about a psychological shift, gaining financial confidence, developing what it calls a CEO mindset. It says you learn to, educate yourself, weigh options, manage risks, foster growth, stay agile but focused. So it's not just about money management, it's about resilience, isn't it? And finding deeper life satisfaction from values-aligned spending, making sure your money actually supports what matters to you. Plus, being able to protect and provide for the people you care about. But what does that CEO mindset actually look like in practice? Is it just risk assessment or is there more to it?
That's a great question, because it really is more than just cold calculation. The guide suggests that CEO mindset means you're constantly asking, what's the ROI here? And not just financial ROI, but ROI for your life goals, your well-being. It's about being proactive, not reactive. So instead of just, say, paying bills as they come in, you're looking at your cash flow, like a CEO views a company's revenue. Where can we optimize? Where's the potential for growth? Maybe you assess a large purchase not just on the price tag, but its long-term effect on your personal balance sheet and your overall life plan. It's quite an empowering shift, really, from feeling like a passenger to being the pilot of your financial journey.
That reframing definitely feels key. Okay, so what does this all mean for you listening right now? This guide boils down these fundamentals into 5 key habits. It calls them your core roadmap to taking control. Master these 5, the guide suggests, and you'll not only be far ahead, but you'll start to feel that shift, that CEO mindset taking hold.
Indeed. These 5 habits are absolutely foundational. They're the bedrock for, well, all your future financial success. Let's maybe dive into each one using the insights from the guide. So first up, creating a purpose-driven budget. The guide doesn't just say track your spending. It calls budgeting the cornerstone habit that makes everything else possible. And what's often missed, I think, is how this material reframes it. It's not about restriction. It's about intentional spending. It's about gaining that financial awareness, getting real expense control, and that then enables debt reduction and effective savings. So you learn to track income and spending really carefully and then allocate strategically. It mentions methods like zero-based budgeting, where every single dollar gets a job, basically. Very proactive. Or there's the 50-30-20 rule, maybe a bit more flexible, 50% needs, 30% wants, 20% savings and debt. A simpler framework for some.
Yeah, I think a lot of people hear budget and they immediately think diet, something painful you probably won't stick to. But reframing it like that purpose-driven, intentional spending that changes the feeling entirely, doesn't it? Sounds more like aligning your money with your actual values, making every dollar work for you.
Absolutely. It's about being proactive, not reactive. So once you've got that clear financial picture where the money's going and where you want it to go, the guide moves to the next critical step, building that safety net. Second key habit, establish a 6-month emergency fund. This is your financial safety net. Your shield, really, against life's inevitable curveballs. The guide really emphasizes its purpose, providing financial security, peace of mind, and resilience when unexpected things happen. Think medical bills, car repairs, maybe even a sudden job loss, things that could really knock you off course. The clear recommendation is saving 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. And crucially, where you keep it matters. It needs to be in liquid accessible accounts, like high-yield savings or maybe money market accounts. It specifically warns against less liquid options, like CDs, for this fund, because you might get hit with penalties if you need the cash quickly, which kind of defeats the purpose.
Okay, that 3 to 6 months sounds great, like the gold standard. But for someone feeling overwhelmed right now, maybe living paycheck to paycheck, does the guide offer advice on how to even start building that? It can feel like climbing a mountain. I mean, you mentioned unexpected car repairs. Having that fund is the difference between a hassle and a full-blown crisis, right?
Well, absolutely it does. The guide is realistic. It doesn't pretend it's easy overnight. It suggests starting small, even aiming for, say, $500 or $1,000 first. Call it a mini emergency fund, a starter cushion, and then build from there. It really stresses automating it. Small transfers from each paycheck, straight into a separate dedicated account. That does two things. It builds the habit, and it creates a sort of psychological barrier so you're less tempted to dip into it for non-emergencies. It lets the savings grow steadily, almost without you noticing. It's all about consistent, disciplined action, however small the first steps feel. So with that safety net starting to build, the guide then turns to a major hurdle for so many people: high-interest debt. Which brings us to the third key habit: paying down high-interest debts. It acknowledges that without financial literacy, it's incredibly easy to get buried under credit card debt or loans. It can feel like a trap you can't escape. So the guide strongly advises prioritizing any high-interest debt. We're talking credit cards, personal loans, definitely those predatory payday loans.
Tackling these first dramatically reduces how much you waste on interest over time. It also mentions two popular strategies: the debt snowball and the debt avalanche. It explains the snowball is about paying off the smallest debts first. You get these quick wins, which builds momentum, keeps you motivated. The avalanche, on the other hand, targets the highest interest rates first. Mathematically, this saves you more money in the long run. The guide acknowledges both work, It depends on your personality, your situation. But the core message is clear. Borrow only what's necessary and affordable, and be aggressive about tackling that existing high-interest weight.
Right, those two methods, snowball versus avalanche, people often debate them. It's interesting the guide validates both. It recognizes the psychology of the snowball win alongside the mathematical efficiency of the avalanche. It really underlines that personal finance isn't just one size fits all, is it?
Precisely. It's about finding the method that helps you stick with it. That's what matters. And once those high-interest debts are getting under control, you start freeing up significant cash flow. Which leads us nicely into the fourth habit. Number 4. Saving and investing consistently. This is really the engine for long-term wealth building, for financial independence down the road. The guide highlights the often underestimated power of compounding, where your money earns returns, and then those returns start earning their own returns. It creates this amazing exponential growth over time, and it stresses how critical it is to automate your savings. Make it automatic, non-negotiable. Pay yourself first, as they say. The guide specifically encourages maximizing contributions to tax-advantaged accounts, things like your 401k at work, IRAs, individual retirement accounts, and even HSA's health savings accounts if you have a high-deductible health plan. These accounts are incredibly powerful tools because they let your investments grow either tax-free or tax-deferred. It's a huge boost. And of course, diversify. Spreading your investments across different things, stocks, bonds, maybe real estate, that's key to managing risk, and fostering steady growth. Not putting all your eggs in one basket.
You mentioned those tax-advantaged accounts, 401ks, IRAs, HSAs. You said they're critical. Can you just quickly break down why the guide puts such emphasis on maxing those out? For someone just starting, it can feel like a lot of jargon.
Sure. It's actually quite simple, but the impact is massive over time. These accounts basically give you a leg up from the government, tax advantages. So with a traditional 401k or a traditional IRA, Your contribution might be tax deductible now, which lowers your current tax bill, and then the money grows tax deferred until you take it out in retirement. With Roth accounts, Roth IRA, Roth 401k, you don't get the upfront deduction, but your money grows completely tax-free, and qualified withdrawals in retirement are also tax-free. Huge benefit. And HSAs, they're often called triple tax advantaged. Contributions are deductible, growth is tax-free, and withdrawals for qualified medical expenses are tax-free, now or in retirement. It's essentially like getting free money in the form of tax savings and allowing your investments to compound without tax drag. Over decades, that makes an enormous difference. Okay, and finally, the fifth cornerstone habit the guide lays out is protecting your health and assets. It really frames insurance as crucial for mitigating financial risks, the kind of risks that could completely derail your entire financial plan otherwise. This covers the obvious ones like health insurance, essential for medical costs. Life insurance, especially if people depend on your income. Disability insurance is also highlighted, often overlooked, but critical for replacing income if you can't work due to illness or injury. Your ability to earn is your biggest asset, right? And then property and casualty insurance for your home, your car, your valuable belongings. But beyond just insurance, this section also covers estate planning. It explains how vital tools like wills and trusts are. And these aren't just for the super wealthy. They ensure your assets go where you want them to, the orderly transfer of wealth, protect your legacy, and honestly save your family a lot of potential heartache and legal trouble later on. It's about building a protective shield.
Wow, okay, that's a lot to think about under protection. Health, life, disability, property, estate planning. For someone maybe juggling multiple financial priorities, does the guide give any advice on how to prioritize which insurance is most critical to get first? Especially if the budget is tight, it feels like you could get overwhelmed just looking at the list.
That's a very practical concern, absolutely. The guide suggests thinking about it in layers based on risk. First, secure health insurance. Medical emergencies are often the most immediate and financially devastating threat for most people, so that's priority one. After that, focus on protecting your income stream. That means disability insurance is incredibly important because, again, your ability to earn is usually your biggest financial resource. Then, if you have dependents children, a spouse who relies on your income life insurance becomes essential. Property and casualty for your home and car are generally required if you have loans, but are non-negotiable anyway for anyone owning those major assets. So the key is, start with the biggest potential financial catastrophes, health crises, loss of income, and then build out your coverage from there as your budget allows and your needs evolve. It's about tackling the biggest risks first, incrementally.
Okay, these 5 habits, budgeting with purpose, the emergency fund, tackling debt, consistent saving and investing, and protection, they really do offer a solid foundation, a clear roadmap. But as you said, the guide makes it really clear. Money mastery is a journey, not a destination. It's ongoing. It really stresses engaging actively with all this, implementing the tips, integrating it into your daily life, not just reading about it. It even includes prompts for self-reflection, encouraging you to really look at your own beliefs about money, challenge them, and actually change behaviors. And it's amazing how broad the full guide is. If you're curious, it goes way beyond these 5 keys. It dives into income taxes, detailed retirement planning, protecting your identity online, strategies for resisting consumerism, thinking about entrepreneurial endeavors, handling big life events financially, even understanding global economics and how it impacts you. It truly feels like a pathway to pursuing financial freedom in, well, every sense of the word.
Precisely. And that's why it encourages you to review regularly. Use it like an ongoing reference manual, not a one-and-done read. It reminds us that finance isn't just numbers on a page. It's deeply tied to our emotions, our assumptions, the habits we've built up over years. So continuous learning is key. Staying informed about economic shifts or new financial products and adapting your strategies as your life changes, that's essential for long-term success. It comes back to cultivating that CEO mindset, doesn't it? Not just for your bank account, but for your whole life, making informed choices that really serve your ultimate goals.
So if you've listened this far, you've just taken a really significant step on your own journey toward financial empowerment. We've seen how getting a handle on basic money skills isn't just about managing numbers. It's about really reducing stress, making progress towards your biggest goals, and ultimately designing the life you truly want. It's about that shift from feeling controlled by money to being the one in control.
And that really raises an important question for you, the listener, to maybe reflect on as we wrap up. Of those 5 key habits we discussed today, that purpose-driven budget, the emergency fund, tackling high-interest debt, saving and investing consistently, and protecting your assets, which one feels like the most impactful, maybe the most accessible first step you could take? Starting today, Which one could begin that process of taking real control of your financial future? Just remember, the most powerful journey always begins with that single intentional action.